Welcome to What is Comics, where myself and Jamie Jones try to figure out what is comics. This week we have Portland cartoonist Wesley Griffith. And after talking to him, my brain's been running crazy because I'm trying to figure out the effects of nature versus nurture on a creator's evolution. And another nugget that slipped into my brain is, at what age did said creator read Frank Miller for the first time? I really hope you enjoy the interview. And if you do, like and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to be on the podcast, reach out to Jamie. Before Wesley takes the main stage, I need to take a moment and talk to you about Indie Comics Creator Con. We are almost 2 months away from the show, and 150 indie comic book creators are going to take over New Haven, Connecticut. It is going to be spectacular. Jim Rugg, Tom Scioli, and Dean Haspel are coming to town. We have gift bags for the first 100 attendees. Since we are taking over the entire third floor, and I want you to search out every room and meet every creator, we created a scavenger hunt with the grand prize being original artwork that will be created at Drink and Draw the night before. You are going to want to participate in the scavenger hunt. It is going to be epic. A very cool aspect of this year's show is that I brought in editor-in-chief of Mad Cave Studios, Mike Martz, and senior editor of IDW, Heather Antos, to do portfolio reviews. This is an amazing opportunity for you to get critiques and take your creator work to the next level. I would definitely sign up for this and not miss it. Tickets to the show are only $8, and we have discount tickets for military and students. Head over to indiecomicscreatorcon.com for all your information on the show. We can't move on until we talk about the sponsors of IC3. Comics Wellspring is back for another year, and those fine folks believed in us before anybody even knew what Indie Comics Creator Con was. Cosmic Lion Productions, they have their island again. They're also providing the bags that the gift bags will be part of. Dark Horse Comics is on board this year, and they're providing the swag for the gift bags. Monkeys Fighting Robots, what we know about them. And now that we are part of the Comic Arts family, check out their YouTube channel, Comic Art Live. Now let's chat with Wesley.
I think I knew what a lettering guide was, and someone showed me how to do it like once, and I was like, that's hard. I'm not going to do that. And then again, like Cartoonist Kayfabe, Jim Rugg has that great video where he demonstrates how to use it. And like at that point, I had been through design school at ASU, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because actually, it's really cool at Arizona State University. They have a really great graphic design program, and one of the things that you do in your first 2 years there is like you actually have to do lettering exercises, not like comic book lettering, but like you do have to grid out on a large piece of paper and pencil, and then like you literally just do straight lines with graphite, and you just do pages and pages and pages of that, and it's just this exercise to teach the first year students precision and like the proximity of like design elements like next to each other. And as I was doing it, like I was like, man, this sucks, but also I know this is like gonna like work out like in a visual storytelling way, because like comics were sort of just still always on my mind.
That's interesting, because your work, I know you work traditionally, but when I was reading it, it felt digital. Like it just felt very precise in a way, not in just like the line width is all the same, but it has like a similar judder around everything, and it feels really it feels handmade. But I would not, like, if somebody told me it was like, oh yeah, Wesley does everything digitally, I would have just accepted it. What tools are you using to do that? Or like, what are you using? This is me. Are you using like Faber-Castell brush pens or are you using Pentel brush pens? Both of them give a very different look in my mind. This is very nitty gritty. This is very like in
No,
the weeds.
this is what we're here for. I use the Copic brush pen and like the whole
Okay.
Copic like multi-liner set. I swear by like they're.
How often are you changing those nibs, baby?
Let's see. This guy, I mean, I don't know, like this isn't really like a nib or anything. Like I have used nibs before. I actually like, I don't know, I feel like the next project I really want to try and like get old school with like, I don't know, like using like a Winsor Newton brush and like a nib and all that stuff, because there are certain things I have used it for, but it's just like a matter of like, well, this is much faster. I didn't know you could replace these. I mean, yeah, normally I've just been letting them like dry out when they're dry, and then actually it's really nice when they do dry. I don't want to show new artwork. Shoot.
Why
Okay.
not?
Well, wait a minute. Hang on.
An exclusive.
Hang on. I can find an example. Yeah, here you go. This is something like when those markers do get dry, like I will save them because then you can get this like good, like, you can get a little bit of gray in there. So like, I don't know, it's nice like when they are like still useful. I have to wait a little bit so when they're not like a completely like black, but they're great for fire.
How long have you been doing comics? I feel like everything you sent me was like copywritten 2023 and onward.
Oh yeah, no. I think I got like all that the stuff that I have been selling. That's all sort of like, I guess that all began in like 2021 was THUNDERBEAST, because I got like many other creators. I got very inspired by watching the Cartoonist kayfabe channel, and they did this one specific episode about this manga called Ryu, the strongest man on the face of the planet, and that just like blew my mind in a way that I hadn't had my mind blown by a comic in a very long time, and was like had been wanting to make a comic for like a very long time, and had to a less successful extent, and like one that I can still, they're for free on my Global Comics account. It's called Radio Jupiter, and the other one is called Destroy All Galaxies. They're like these two sci-fi stories that I love very much, but I look back at them and in a kind of like, oh, like you didn't know how to letter very well, and you didn't know how to not do this, but I don't know, I still love them. I don't hate those comics by any means whatsoever.
So THUNDERBEAST is it goes THUNDERBEAST, Grotesque, The Jump?
Yes.
Okay. I was reading it. I read it completely out of order. Like,
no, that's okay.
Great. Like I got a sense of it. I was like, where does this fall in line with like, because I think it's very clear that The Jump is the last thing, or the newest thing that you've done. But I think THUNDERBEAST and Grotesque like switch back and forth a lot, and I think that's really interesting.
They're very close together. Like as soon as I was done with THUNDERBEAST, actually like going from THUNDERBEAST into Grotesque was very strange. It was like very odd for the very first time to write the name of a different book on the top of the margin, so I know like what the original like how you like will title things in the original art when you draw like a comic, and then like doing that because THUNDERBEAST took a very long time, like because I had thought about it for a good long while before I even moved to San Diego and even started drawing the first 2 pages, and then just sort of had to tell myself like, don't start this yet until you kind of get your job and moving situation figured out. And then once I moved to San Diego and had my place there, I was like, all right, let's get busy.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, and it's got to be so crazy because like going from a book that is THUNDERBEAST is over 100 pages, going into that and then doing like short story collections, right? Like it really shows. I'm now that you've said it, it really it is obvious, because I feel like the stuff in Grotesque is so tight and just like, this is what we're doing, in and out stories, real palate cleanser between 100 pages of comics into 8 pages of comics. I have also recently done that, so I noticed that as a thing.
It feels nice. It's such a great exercise too, and just like giving just being like, oh yeah, I can just tell a story, whatever story I want, in 10 pages, and that's fine. And then I'll come up with another 10 pages of something, and as long as it's not boring, then it'll work. It doesn't have to be like a crazy 500-page epic.
Yeah.
It's always I remember having a chat with another cartoonist. He was a bit younger than me, and he was saying he basically wanted to do. He's like, I want to make like something that's like Berserk. I was like, ooh, why don't you just like give yourself 24 pages and see what happens? Don't go nuts.
Yeah. I constantly tell people. I live in Savannah, so I have SCAD students all over the place. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, hey, listen, take it from a guy who tried to do, or like my first big comic was a 64-page comic. And I was like, that was hard to do. Yeah. Just do 8 pages. 8 pages is a lot. And you will realize it's a lot. And then that's what it is. Yeah, it's great. Oh, God, the 8-pager is killer. The 8 to 10 pages.
Yeah, it works. No, it was so much fun. And a lot of those, a lot of like the stuff in Grotesque, it was just stuff that had been in my mind where I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea, but that's not like an ongoing thing I need to explore forever and ever. It's just really just this thing like I wanted to like get out of my system. Like a lot of them were like the first story in Grotesque issue 1, that was like literally like me in the shower thinking about how much I love the Twilight Zone episode To Serve Man, and then thinking like, well, what if the humans eat the aliens instead? And that was just how that came about.
Jamie's gonna hate this. Can you talk about like what where little Wesley grew up, and like what his like first like art experience was?
First art experience in terms of the comics of it all, it would have been I'm one of 3 kids. I was the middle kid, and my older brother was the first one in the that had basically he had a comic book collection, and a lot of the stuff that he had was informed by kind of by movies, in the sense like he loved, and to an extent I loved the Alien movies and Star Wars, and so he had this Dark Horse licensed Aliens like comics and Star Wars comics, and then somehow or other, I don't know how the heck like he even got a hold of this. He had a copy of the Jeff Darrow, Frank Miller Hard Boiled comic, and we definitely both should not have been looking at that, but it was also like awesome to see at 9 or 7. Yeah, I think that's kind of what primed the pump. And like, I don't know, I always liked animation, and like being so interested in like drawing and then trying to do it, and then stuck with it because it frustrated me how bad I was at it, but didn't care, just kind of wanted to keep going at it and over again, because it was just, I don't know, it always felt satisfying to me, even when it didn't work out. It was always like single images too, remembering it now. Like I don't think I ever tried to do panels or lettering. Maybe that's why like lettering kind of came to me very much later. That wasn't something I practiced. Like I had no idea. I don't think I knew what an Ames lettering guide was until like probably like when I was like in my teens or something. Like I don't know. But I don't know. That's not something, I guess, that's like accessible to a lot of people, even like full grown adults.
And most people now like just use fonts and nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think I used an Ames lettering guide until I didn't start drawing comics until I was 23. So I don't think I knew what an Ames lettering guide was until I was 25, 26, right? Like that's just, it's a weird archaic tool that isn't necessary anymore. So
no.
Do you hand letter all of your stuff?
I
now?
do.
You have a look to it, and it's all on the page. I know a bunch of guys who just will hand letter, but it's all digital. Like they'll letter it on their iPad, just or ink it on their iPad for ease sake.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I don't know, like since I've kind of taught myself to do it that way, like to me, in a weird way, to me, like that's the easiest way. Like I don't know. I guess I don't know. It's interesting to me, the idea. Like I don't know. Maybe one day I would like to try it as an exercise to draw a wordless comic, but leave room to place balloons or something and lettering digitally. I don't know when that would be. Not anytime soon, but it is like I don't know. That it's interesting for me to think of it that way, because I've handled enough like comic book files now, because I see like that's how it normally works, is that a creator will have like their TIFF file, and then like you place the lettering file as like something from Illustrator on it separately.
What does your work process look like? Like what does your writing process looks like, I guess? Like, are you writing full scripts for yourself? Are you writing something that's more just on the page? Do you have a separate script?
I do have a separate script for certain I don't know. It depends on the project, because like THUNDERBEAST is really weird. I storyboarded all those pages as like visuals, and then kind of told myself to come up with the dialogue after. So I like Marvel methoded it with myself, and then the jump was I kind of the idea for the jump came to me right before my girlfriend and I were going to move from San Diego to Portland. So in order to, out of kind of desperation, so I wasn't going to forget everything that I was thinking of and what I wanted the story to be, I sort of like made myself sit down and outline the entire series on a Word document from beginning to end. And when I complete an issue and it's time to start a new one, I'll just sit down and sort of panel out, like basically do layouts of all those 6-panel grids that I adhere to for every page of the jump, and follow more or less what I want to happen based on that outline that I've written.
So you have an entire outline for the entire series?
Basically, it's not a good outline. I'm not like a very.
I'm
not a good writer.
Never good.
Yeah. And there's a lot of shit when I go back and look at it, I'm like, oh man, that didn't happen at all that way. Issue 2. Yeah.
What? I mean, I guess this is the question. The question that I have next is, how many issues is it?
I would say 8 to 10.
Cool.
Is like kind of what I'm shooting for. Hopefully 8, because I'm thinking about it. I was like, well, I started that in 2023. It's 2025 now, and I'm not, issue 5 isn't done yet. But
yeah,
I don't know. Life and stuff happens. So
it's indie comics, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
we live and die by life.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
You mentioned earlier that your older brother went to art school in Chicago, and then you went to art school. So how supportive was your family with this?
Oh, very supportive. Like I don't know. I feel like for my mom, considering the fact that we were kind of like not the most well-behaved when we were kids, whenever we were having an interest in things that were like not, causing her worry, it would be like, oh, good. Like he's just going to sit down and read comics or like draw, like good. Yeah, no, I don't think I ever had like any like issues. I mean, I don't know, maybe once or twice where like there would be something like some anime I want to rent from Blockbuster, and my mom would be like, you're not renting this.
And you mentioned it, Aliens, and I got to know, like, how old were you when you saw Aliens for the first time?
Good question.
Matt. That's a great question. Okay, so it's so funny. It's weird. I was just thinking about like James Cameron and like Terminator 2 today. For I don't know why. So I remember. I think Drew, my older brother, he like was just like, I kind of want to show like he wanted to show me like a bit of it, not the whole thing, because he knew he'd get in trouble. So like I think he showed me like the ending of it, and I was just sort of confused because I remember Bishop getting impaled, milk coming out of that man's like mouth. I didn't understand the context of it, and Drew was like, oh, he's a robot. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, robots bleed milk. But then I don't know, I don't think I saw the whole thing until I was like not like 8 or 9 or something. Like no, 9. I watched like the whole like trilogy or the 4. Because okay, sorry, Alien Resurrection was coming out, so I was like, oh, I should watch the other 3. That's what it was.
So you got your lettering style guide, and then you're marathoning Aliens.
No. The style guide didn't come till way later.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you were so ahead of the curve.
Alien lettering guide. This is.
I'm going to talk about 1954.
Okay.
Because when I read it, I felt like the different pages in it. Like, were you experimenting with the different pages?
I was, for sure. Actually, I have those original pages down here somewhere. 1954 was like a weird thing because I kind of drew. I didn't draw all of those on like traditional comic book paper. They were actually like individual, I don't know, like 9x12, like sketchbook paper. Those drawings are pretty small for the most part, but I was using a brush a lot with those because my thinking was like, if there was like a adaptation of the 1954 Godzilla movie, who would be the artist in my head? Like, that would be perfect for it. And I was reading Lone Wolf and Cub, and I was like, Goseki Kojima would make such a fucking great like Godzilla comic. Just like, I was just picturing like that guy's like thick like brushwork and his hatching and like that, like, I don't know, that like kinetic like fucking crazy inking that he has. And so I was trying to channel some of that. Yeah, there was like some of the drawings, like I didn't like clean them up or threshold them in Photoshop. I just sort of let them be like gray and just kept that quality to them. I don't know. It was like in the sense of like work, like doing a project for like Godzilla, which is a character that I don't own. It was like a weird freeing experience in a way where I was like, well, since I shouldn't be doing this anyway, I can kind of do whatever I want.
I've noticed that like the more interviews I do or the more immersed I get into the indie scene, I feel like there is a good percentage of indie creators that have bootlegged, their personal IP or an IP they like. Like, what is your opinion on that? Is that like a good like way to break in or an easier way to break into an audience?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I suppose so. It's not something I just sort of want. I think as long as you're coming at this like as anything that you love as like as a fan, like I have no doubt that like the reason, like when Mahdi Khan makes bootleg Spider-Man, he does that because he fucking loves Spider-Man. And like, I hope when people look at 1954, it's like, I did it because I love Godzilla, and had like a weird, like, not midlife crisis, but just a moment where I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm in my 30s and I haven't made a Godzilla comic. That's a problem. Like, I'm gonna fix that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it could be a great way because like I mean, I don't know, I enjoy seeing stuff like that. Like, I think Bart Kira is really funny.
Well, you're also doing something, like you said, that you were playing around with different techniques and different styles than what you normally approach for your comics into this Godzilla thing. And I think Mahdi does the same thing with his Spider-Man stuff. It is a chance for you to play around a little bit more and take a little more ownership on something and have fun. Like, yeah. It's like, oh, well, this isn't official, so let me try a new tool.
Exactly.
I think that's really cool and interesting. Yeah. I need to make a bootleg Plastic Man. That's what we're saying. That's what we're talking about.
Please do.
Yeah. Maybe I can bust that out for IC3. You've mentioned manga comics a lot, and I have read a lot of your stuff, and it all seems very manga inspired, but your drawing style feels very American and very like almost Americana, like turn of the century. We're moving into like big eyes, big noses, big cartooning, but then also like that 90s grunge. You use a lot of that, I feel like, in the Jump, which is, your current project? Are you are you a juggler of projects, or are you just working on the jump?
I'm just working on the jump. Yeah, I don't know. I can't juggle. Um, but as far as influence, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's funny you mentioned like 90s grunge and then like super cartoony Big Eyes, and I think I'm like, well, I grew up in the 90s, and I remember watching a lot of Looney Tunes when I was
Yeah.
a kid. So I guess I don't know. Maybe that was like, yeah, it's like a weird like combination of those things. It's like what is that, like that fucking amazing, I'm gonna butcher it, but there's this really amazing like Scott McCloud quote where he said like, your style is everything that you love but you're doing it badly, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. That's what I say that all the time to people. It's like everything you do is your style is everything you do wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
You're trying to do something, or like the idea of the perfect art is there, but you're using it to do whatever you want to do.
yeah. And then 90% of the time it's funny whenever people like will hold up like, you know, the perfect artist or art or to the standard, and you look at it and you're like, yeah, but it's kind of boring, isn't it?
Yeah. You have such a great quality of it. It reminds me of Tezuka in a lot of ways, where it's just like, here's this art that is so inspired by like 1920s comic strips, and then we're doing this own thing, and it's continually, you know, Astro Boy doesn't really have an ending. It just continues, and
Yeah.
most of his stuff just continues,
Yeah.
which is how old strips work. Like, you either get canceled or you die. That's
Yeah.
the thing. And that's when I was reading THUNDERBEAST, that's what I was thinking. I was like, where is this going? What is this doing? And it just kept going. And I was like, oh man, this guy's just writing this until he's done. And that's a really freeing thing to see another creator do. I think a lot of people get really, and maybe I'm all wrong, and maybe I'm just out here thinking too much, but it seems to me like reading your stuff, you might have an endpoint, but how you get to that endpoint is completely up to the whim of the page. Like, you're just going on and just like page by page, you know what you're doing. The jump changes page lengths, right? Like, it's not just when I sit down to write a comic, I'm like, I have 20 pages. This is what I'm doing, and I can't go over this. But the jump
believe me, I start that way, and then the fucking characters, and then this, it's like, I don't know, this is like a cheesy creator thing to say, but it's like, it really is like true, where like your story and your creators can just be like, well, no, now we do really have to like increase the page count. Like, I would have wanted the Jump issue 3 to be 32 pages, but like there was just a lot of things I had kind of needed to get down at and put them down at a certain rhythm, a certain page count, for it to be okay to live with and publish and be the issue that it is.
That's a thing that's really great about working and producing indie comics, right? Like, you're not beholden, right? If you were working with a publisher or working with an editor, they would have been like, no, figure it out, do it in 20 pages. Like, you have to work that way. But because we're doing it on our own, we can do whatever we want, and that's really nice. Mm-hmm. It is refreshing. I like television shows that are, I don't like the 45-minute television show, but I love when the 45-minute television show is 50 minutes, and then the next episode it's like 30 minutes, and it like changes the pacing and what I'm used to. You can't fall into the rhythm of it, and your stuff doesn't fall into a rhythm of anything. I think even with GROTESK, you have 8 pages. That the third issue of GROTESK, what is 28 pages? 20, like it is longer.
Yeah. That, oh boy, I love GROTESK issue 3. That's like my favorite of the two of them, because that was a combination of two different just this idea I had for the longest time while in design school. I had like kind of rekindled my horror fandom, and I was like, why the hell isn't there any like horror movies about graphic designers?
You have Junji Ito, you have John Carpenter all over that thing. Like, it's really, go read GROTESK issue 3, everybody. It's very fun.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with those two stories that are in there. Thunderbeast was I kept very like, maybe that was like the best thing about like laying out that page count to begin with, because I had envisioned it as being like and so I did like research. I'm like, okay, like what's the standard page count for those 70s like treasury books? And they're about like 80, 84, and then the highest one I found was 96. I'm like, all right, 96 pages, that's what that's gonna be. And in terms of the artwork of it all, that is what the page count for that book is. Still haven't found a way to print it at treasury size yet, but I'll get there.
So 1954 is like a nice square little book, and then you talked about the treasury size and everything. Have you noticed that like at conventions that people gravitate to different sizes? Because we had this conversation with Chris Anderson last week about trying to break into the manga circle and like making things smaller and making them more of like some this feels familiar kind of thing, as
Mm-hmm.
Jamie would say. So what is your feelings on like actual size of the books?
I mean, I love printing things at different sizes. Actually, one of the most helpful things for me during my process of doing further issues of the Jump as I keep going, is I'll print out every issue like in a zine format for myself, just so that I can have them like quickly to refer to for like continuity. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what? I drew that garage once, but I don't remember it because it was a garage. It's not like remembering a character design. And it's just much easier for in terms of like I don't have to pull out the like an 11 by 17 like artboard in a pile in my closet of all the original art pages. But I also keep it that I like having that just in case, like, who knows, maybe a print on demand companies will cease sometime, and then what then? Then I'd rather be able to print it on my own. And all of these I just printed like in via the Brother printer I have right next to me, just
That's
on
awesome.
like 8.5 by 11 paper.
Ooh, what kind of brother printer you got, buddy?
Oh, well, I don't remember the numbers. I could read it off to you. It's just like this. It's just this like very like cheap, like $115 like printer that I got during the pandemic because I missed printing things.
Brother printers are workhorses. I've had mine for like 7 years. Oh gosh, longer. Golly,
Yeah.
it was the first thing I ever bought when I bought with comic book money. Was I bought a printer, and it was the Brother printer, and it's like the J7924 whatever. It's scanner printer. It's great.
Yeah.
But it's like 8 years old, 9 years old at this point.
No, they're awesome.
Well, I'm curious just for my own sake. Like,
yeah,
I might be in the market for a new printer.
It's nothing fancy. It's like what I have is like it doesn't print color. It's only black and white.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned that every page of the Jump is how many panels?
6. Because I wanted to. I was like really inspired by Ben Mara's "What We Mean by Yesterday" strip, and the whole like idea of like, oh yeah, like Instagram is like the perfect format for like a daily strip. So I kind of wanted to do the Jump with that in mind, because I had initially done which was it? Those two stories that are in Grotesque #3. I took all the panels and then like kind of cut them up individually and posted them on Instagram daily. And then I thought like, oh, I'll just do like, that's just it. That like is what I'll do with my comics from now on. And so with the Jump, I thought like I'll just have this 6-panel grid. It'll be a square. Instagram format is like built for a square essentially. And yeah, and that way it would save time in terms of like doing the layout of it all, where it's like I don't have to think about like weird, panel shapes and like how am I going to change things up to keep things interesting. In that sense, I could just adhere to that grid and even use it to, I don't know, maybe like use it as like a surprise element. So like in terms of like, so when a splash page does happen, it is just like, oh shit, what's that?
What are you reading in terms of like growth of, I mean, you're working on this book. It's potentially 8 to 10 to 10 issues. It's a crime spectacle. I hate to be like, it's a crime book, but it's a crime spectacle. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of characters that you're juggling. You have a print for sale that is like all of the characters of the Jump, right? Like, it's a bunch of stuff going on. What are you reading to like get yourself into that mode of writing something that's that grandiose?
Oh boy.
Or watching or whatever. Well, like what's inspiring you to do that stuff? This is a selfish question because I can't make something without having like some external noise going.
Yeah.
You're like, what's my North Star? Or I guess that's a better question. What's your North Star for this thing?
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, like it was sort of just like I had always wanted to make a crime comic because that first it's like I don't know, it seems like such like an obvious thing to say, but like I don't know, like it can't be said enough how fucking good that very 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 first Sin City is with Marv. It's perfect. It's a perfect fucking comic.
Yeah.
And like I read it at just the right age. I would have been like, I don't know, 13 or something. And I think it was around it, like it all commingled with the same time that like I had seen like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction at the same time and like all that. So I was just like, crime gangster stuff is the like most exciting genre that I apparently didn't really know was this stuff, like because I thought, I don't know, maybe like my initial like idea of like a crime movie was like James Cagney or something. And yeah, it was just cool, like so exciting to see that stuff. But in terms of the comics of it all, it was definitely like, as much as I think Dark Knight Returns is like, it is a fucking great like comic, it doesn't impress me as much as Sin City, because with Frank Miller, when you're doing Batman, so much of the work is through like decades of like history of other people contributing it.
Yeah.
When you're starting from the ground up and you're like, okay, once upon a time there was this city and there was this big guy named Marv who lived in it, and these are all his friends and enemies that live in it, and it's just you. That's a real like cool like accomplishment.
One of the things I find this interesting. Frank Miller, big manga guy.
Yeah.
You, big manga guy, or at least influenced by manga in a way. Both of you have set up the world as is, and I think manga does this really well, where it's just like, here's the world. Now we're taking a snapshot of the characters as they're working in their day to day. Do you do a lot of like prep work for the world, or do you let the writing of it just kind of roll around and then you make your rules as you're writing?
Oh boy. I feel like I make my rules as I'm writing. I knew I wanted the Jump, like I feel like a lot of living in San Diego informed like the setting of the Jump. It's definitely supposed to be like, anywhere, or not anywhere, but like, some Southern California like coastal like place. It's basically San Diego, but like this odd version of it. And yeah, I don't know, in terms of rules, like I don't know, my one rule is kind of like, I don't like, try not to be boring, or just like keep myself excited and keep myself engaged, and just sort of see how far this thing can go based on this like odd concept of sort of a doofus gangster needing to his neighbor to jump his car, and all the ramifications that could bring.
Your doofus neighbor, the only one without a nose.
Oh right? Yeah, well he does. It's funny, in the first issue he does. It comes and goes. Like he
loses it real quick.
Yeah, it's just depends on like how like weird I want to contort his face. It's kind of funny. I was on the phone with a friend of mine and he was talking about that. He's like, yeah, like what the heck is with that guy? Like you draw him so weird. And I was talking to him. I was like, you know what I realized? Like I think like an odd influence on Frank's facial features on some of the drawings is Earthworm Jim.
Yes, yeah. You have a lot of Doug TenNapel in you, and I really like that.
Yeah, no, I loved that game when I was a kid.
It's great.
So you mentioned Aliens, you mentioned Reservoir Dogs. Like, what's like the third like top Wesley movie?
Oh man, I like so many movies. That's not fair. I don't know. I can't answer that question. That's a difficult one.
All right, what's your favorite movie of the last 10 years?
Last 10 years.
10 years is so long.
Hey, come on.
10 years.
Come
What was your
on.
favorite movie last year? That's
Fine. That's fine.
Last year. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Does it? Yeah, I guess it came out in Christmas. I really enjoyed. I guess they're two Christmas movies. I really enjoyed The Holdovers, and I really liked Nosferatu. Saw that recently.
The Holdovers is really good.
Yeah, that's like I was actually like kind of impressed when I watched it. I'm like, wow, I just watched a new like Christmas classic. Those don't happen often.
It's a very, very solid film. Very solid.
Have you seen Nosferatu yet, Matt?
No, I don't see. I'm not a horror guy. I mean,
no, I get it.
Nosferatu.
No, I have a very vivid imagination. I don't need anything else to scare me. I have a basement door right behind me. It's locked. It's literally locked.
Without like spoiling like a 100-year-old like story, I was like, we're all very familiar with the story of Dracula, and I gotta say, like, I was impressed by like, because I went into it kind of thinking just like, all right, like how are you gonna do this story that's been done so many times, and I was impressed that like they genuinely like unnerved me and freaked me out like watching it. Like I was like very much like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? I'm like, you idiot, you read the book, like you know what's gonna happen.
I did a watching of the original 1992 and then the Werner Herzog 79 on Christmas Day, and then the day after Christmas I went and watched the new Nosferatu.
Man.
And so I essentially watched the same movie 3 times.
Yeah.
But wow, was that movie unsettling. And I like great. Loved it for it.
We watched the Bram Stoker one around Halloween, and it's really interesting like comparing those two like Bram Stoker's the 1992 Dracula and Nosferatu, because it's like you're getting the same story, but one is the hot version and one is the cold version.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
Even the color palette, like when I think of the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula, I think of the color red, and like with the other one, I think blue. It's
blues and grays.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah, no, the Nosferatu has made me want to go back and watch the Francis Ford Coppola version.
That movie's solid. Like I was very like into it, like watching it again.
Yeah, I think I only watched it once, and it was probably real quick, and don't really remember a lot of it. But now, you look at everybody that was in it. Gary Oldman is just, amazing. And then you have like Keanu Reeves and all the other people. It's like, it's really good. It's a good cast to kind of look back on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you get creators and you get directors and storytellers that are so like definitive in the ways that they're doing it, right? Like Werner Herzog taking the second the 79. What a voice. What a guy who's got a vision, right? You get Coppola doing Dracula. What a voice, what a vision. You get Robert Eggers, kind of the new voice and vision of horror and spooky things. And that's the thing I think that we're gravitated to as creators of stuff, is like, are you trying to say something? Are you just making something that anyone can enjoy, or are you making something that is specifically for whatever your audience is and what you're trying to do? So Wesley, what are you trying to do?
I'm trying to entertain and to sell books. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's a good answer.
And to like satisfy like myself, and to like, I don't know, just do this thing that makes me like really happy, despite it being very, very fucking hard sometimes.
I say all the time, comic books are really easy to make. It's a miracle comic books get made. That, anyone just sits down and makes comics. It's hard to make a comic book.
I just did a re-listen on audiobook, because when you're drawing for long periods of time, audiobooks and podcasts become your friend real quick. I just listened to Marvel Comics, The Untold Story, the Sean Howe book on audiobook, and I was like, wow, like what a miracle it is that we still get Spider-Man and that company didn't like fall under like so many ways.
Yeah.
Is it rapid fire time?
Is it rapid fire time?
Is it rapid fire time?
Are we at the end of this interview? Yeah, it's rapid fire time. So at the end of all these interviews, we are trying to do a rapid fire questions. I think we've added rapid fire questions. So don't pull a Chris Anderson and actually talk for 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Or if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, it's all organic. All organic.
It's all organic. It's all off the cuff. So let's get down. This is What is Comics, the podcast for Indie Comics Creator Con, the official podcast for Indie Comics Creator Con. So the first question is always, what are you bringing or / premiering to IC3?
Hopefully the jump number 5.
Ooh. Ooh. That's a really quick answer, and I want to have follow up for that, but that's really great. Okay, what is the strange art tool that you grab for all the time?
Oh man, strange. Oh, I know. My Presto whiteout whenever I need to take care of a mistake or add stars on a black ink.
Love that tool.
Yeah.
Are you a schedule or are you a feeling creator?
I wish it was schedule, but it's feeling.
Okay.
Or no, it's schedule. Sorry.
Oh, wait. Okay. Elaborate. Elaborate.
It's schedule based on the needs of when can it get when can it get done in I don't know, in terms of more important house things I need to do.
What is your proudest moment as a comic book creator?
One of them was actually at IC3 last year. Was I got to hand a copy of THUNDERBEAST personally to Ken Landgraf and tell him what a big inspiration he was, and he was very kind and a lovely man to meet.
Ken's the best. Ken is hands down the best.
Ken rocks.
I didn't meet last year. There was a lot going on last year, and I am looking forward to meeting so many more people this year. Who is your biggest influence?
Frank Miller.
So the last one, what stories interest you?
What stories interest me? The ones that are interesting. I don't know. A lot of stories interest me. Only revenge stories. I don't know.
Wesley Griffith. Only revenge stories. It's a good tag. It's a good thing.
No, I like all kinds of stories. Yeah, I don't know.
Who's your favorite Disney princess then?
Oh, Disney princess. Sleeping Beauty, because I think the art of that movie is really. I love all the design stuff that's going on in that movie. It's beautiful.
What a film. That's a great question, Matt. That's my favorite question.
Her name is Aurora, by the way. It's
Aurora. I know. Yeah, that's right.
Matt has 3 daughters,
yes,
and is inundated with Disney princesses all the time.
No, I honestly because they make me watch these movies all the time. All I do is analyze the art in the film, or I analyze the voice work in the film and all the different elements of it. And so again, Sleeping Beauty knocks it out of the park with artwork wise, though. The dragon at the end, it's beautiful.
Yeah, man. Yeah, great movie. Everything top to bottom is really good in that one.
This is the Disney Princess Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Matt Sardo. Starting a new thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Wes, thank you so much for your time. This was awesome. And I really can't wait to see you in March.
I can't wait to come back again. I actually really wanted to take the time to thank you for putting on this amazing show. I went in last year with, I don't know, very strange, very unsure expectations. I was just I don't know what this is gonna be, and I really hope it'll turn out like good. And it was like so like beyond my wildest expectations. It was so like so much fun. Like, thank you so much. This has been like, it's been a real, it was a real gift.
Yeah, no, I'm
Stop. Hey, suck up the tears.
I know.
Don't cry on camera, Matt.